All right, welcome, Dan. Just getting back from a hunt, and then we're talking. You're starting to plan out some hunts for the spring, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, I got some stuff coming down the pipe here, but my question is, did you come home with some cactus in you? I know you came home with a ram, but that country is pretty rough down there.
Oh, it's super rough, man. It was so fun, like on the podcast, being able to describe to you the hunt and the species, the terrain, and then just our mindset around these hunts and trophy quality. It made for a great podcast, man. Time flew by.
Yeah, it did fly by, and it was a great conversation because we talked about a lot of things that you don't really think about, but as we're talking about these subjects, it's like spurring new aha moments of like, oh yeah, and man, this is a huge factor in my life, and how my mind works, and I tend to do this, and so yeah, very one of those interactive podcasts that I guarantee every single listener that listens to this will be able to apply it to themselves and be like, oh, I need to do this, or maybe I need to refine this a little bit. And so I think that type of conversation is probably some of the most valuable conversation I feel like as a bow hunter.
Yeah, man, spot on. It's so valuable for me too. So yeah, it's some of the inner workings of a bow hunter and what you should be doing now to prepare for success and some of your mindset around that. So yeah, good stuff, Dan. Thank a couple sponsors for today's show. Matthews Bow. I did get my first harvest under that new arc bow. What a shooter, man. So impressed with that thing.
Nice, nice. Yeah, it is a sweet shooter, isn't it? And getting a little bit more speed out of it too with that uh, the new weight technology in the cam.
Yeah, they put a new weight in that cam. They're just such great bows, man. So forgiving. Every year, I think they can't outdo themselves, and they did this year. And one of the things that I really appreciate, of course, limb shift technology, the performance I'm getting out of it, those are all great things that I really appreciate. But I love how quiet this year's bow is, man. It's like that's really going to help me out with those jumpy species. Yeah, the bow is just silent this year, man. It's like yeah, the R&D team has really outdone themselves this year with that new art, man. Thanks to Shooter.
Absolutely. And I get messages of, guys that say me, is it worth buying the new Matthews? Is it worth it? And I would say, especially, yes, it is, just because of the tunability of the bow. But if you have like a 3, a 4, a 5-year-old bow, maybe you guys shooting a triax or a halon, upgrade, get yourself a new bow. And if times are tough, get yourself a Lift X, because you won't regret the tunability of these new Matthews, and the performance of the arc is pretty much unmatched from anything that they've produced. And so I get it. Things are expensive and times have been a little bit tough. The industry's down a little bit. I know that for a fact. People are just spending less money. But a big part of this podcast too is if there's a will, there's a way. If you need a piece of equipment, you can figure it out. You can figure out how to pay for it, how to make something happen if you try hard enough. And so there's my little spiel. But yeah, get yourself a new Matthews if you're due for an upgrade.
Yeah. It's a tough question to answer, right? And every year they outdo themselves on the design, but really we're talking 1 to 3% better in the bow. And I love how quiet this year's bow is. I love the performance, but you're right. Like the last 3 years are awesome. The Lift X and the Arc are all great bows. So maybe it's your upgrade to that, but you start getting 5 or 10 years down the road, then all of a sudden that bow is 10 or 20% different. And that's a game changer, man. So yeah, realize when it's time to make an upgrade, and you don't need a new one every single season. You can definitely make do with the bow for a handful of seasons. They're great shooters. But yeah, just look at your situation. And like Dan says, if there's a will, there's a way. But if you go shoot those Matthews, they just aim so true, dead in the hand, and so forgiving, and then hold up to all the abuse we can throw at them. So yeah, great company, great bow. Also, make sure to check out Cutter Stabilizers. The hold and the reaction of your bow is huge, and they build different stabilizers for everybody's personal preference as far as length, and then you can adjust the weight by 1 ounces, sidebar mounts. They've thought of everything for stabilizing your bow, and I think they're the best ones out there.
Absolutely. Quality, build, carbon. I mean, they're built slim enough. They're not catching the wind. And I know we differ a little bit in this regard, but as a command shooter, a trigger index trigger shooter, the more stable you are, the better, right? Because if you can hold stable and optimize the function of your bow, the stability of your bow, that's what you want as a bow hunter. And even if you're back tension too, optimize the stability of your bow, invest in a quality stabilizer.
Yep. Cutter makes it. So check those guys out. We appreciate their support. Check out everything we're doing at Eastmans. Make sure you subscribe to the Eastmans Hunting Journal YouTube channel. We will have our new season of Beyond the Grid working on edits now. It's Dan and I's hunt from last season, as well as Jordan's got a hunt in there. And haven't seen what's coming down the pike for as far as rifle hunts, but it's sure to be a great season with a bunch of great episodes. So make sure you subscribe to that. Check out the new videos. What are you working on for videos, Dan? Are you starting to edit, go through your footage?
Yep. Going through footage. Lots of elk this year, of course, but kind of a mixed bag too. You killed a great mule deer. I killed a big antelope. So we have some variety of the western species for 2026, and of course the new season will be dropping starting in July, so we have a few more months. But yeah, it's time to edit, and it's time to, with the fun part of me too is going through footage and reliving those memories, and witnessed a great elk fight this year of two nice 6-point bulls just going at it at 50 yards in front of me. And so yeah, just epic experiences that were captured on video for Beyond the Grid. So yeah, doing a lot of work on that. Check out the Elk and Deer Collective too if you haven't already. I know a lot of our loyal listeners here have subscribed to those, and we appreciate that. We are reducing the price of both collectives down to $49.99, I believe, is going to be the new standard for the price. But we're going to be running some discount codes here moving forward, and you'll be able to get that for probably half that. So now's the time, right? Now's the time to prep. Now's the time to learn. Now's the time to reflect on your season. What did you do right? What did you do wrong? The collectives help you with that and ultimately help you become a better hunter.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, the collectives, Eastmans TagHub is our internet research tool as we're starting to apply for tags. Make sure to check out the magazines. I know I got an article coming up, and Dan and I are always writing in the magazines, as well as subscriber stories and gear reviews, things of that nature. So a couple great magazines there: Eastman's Bowhunting Journal, Eastman's Hunting Journal, and our other podcasts. Check out my other podcast, Eastman's Elevated, that I produce weekly. We've got Ike on Eastman's Hunting Journals, Predator Pros, Wingman. So a bunch of great podcasts under the umbrella. If you haven't listened to those, go and check those out and see if they're the right fit for you.
Absolutely, man. I think you nailed it. We covered her beautifully.
We got it. Let's get into this podcast.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. Hey, what's happening, Dan?
Hey, how are you? Good to be back.
Good to be back. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I was having quite a bit of fun down there. I could have stayed a little bit longer, but yeah, all good, man. Such a great trip, such a great hunt down there.
Yeah, congrats on the ram too. Looks like you guys really gave him the old what for, but got a couple rams.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, for sure. Man, so fun, like this gnarly desert mountain range, really rugged and rocky, like I was hoping for, and I think we could have found them in easier spots and like some of the rolling hills or some of the juniper pinyon, but man, like the rough, rugged, extreme country is like so fun to hunt for me. And then yeah, able to kind of dial it in. It's the fun of these hunts is like being able to take the information you're given and kind of adapt on the fly and figure out where the good hunting is. And, like I was telling you, I heard it's been downhill, and I heard, I looked at the last 3 years, and out of 76 tags, they filled 6 rams, 5 rams, and 3 rams out of the last 3 years. And those aren't even counting like big mature rams. That's just any ram. So then trying to go down there and shoot for a big mature ram, you're probably looking at a less than 5% chance, but to go down there, to dial it all in, the sends were huge. The country was awesome. The species were really switched on. Like you gave me some good insight before I left, like they're like a mouflon sheep. I found that exactly, like they really relied upon their eyesight. But yeah, to go down there and arrow 2 mature rams in that country between me and my buddy, yeah, we feel like we accomplished the world, man. It's pretty awesome.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. You can't complain about that.
No, no, and just some of the funnest bow hunting. It's tough, right? You want the full experience. It's a tough tag to draw. But what do you do when you see the biggest? I saw like the biggest ram I had seen day 3, and it's like you got to try to kill him. You got to take these opportunities when you get them. Made a perfect play, perfect shot, dropped in sight of me. It was just like an awesome experience. And then I did get more of the experience because I got to grind with my other buddy Dan Heverin and try to get him a ram. And it was like the ultimate challenge. Like I had to talk him off the ledge a couple times, just these big sends, and then end up like he'd make really good plays. He's a great bow hunter, but the sheep would just make a move, or a ewe would come over and catch him, or they'd move off. And so, like there's definitely some frustration, and he wants to get it done. And so, like you're part therapist and part spotter, and, like playing all the parts. And it's like, I've been there before. And so, able to keep him rolling. And then he was able to arrow a great ram like day 8 or something like that. So yeah, pretty fun.
Nice, nice. No, that's one of the hard things about, especially a brand new area, but just a new hunt like that is, you see an animal and you're like, okay, I mean, is it a shooter? And you're like, we haven't seen anything else yet, but it's only day 2. We could see something better. And so it's mentally, did you ever find yourself in that position? Like, should I go kill this ram, or should we keep looking? Or, where were you at mentally with that? Because I know that's something that I'm always pondering on every hunt if I'm hunting a new area.
Yeah, you speak from experience, Dan. That is it on these hunts. You're always thinking of that. And so, yeah, I definitely dealt with it. Dan spotted some rams. We didn't see any rams scouting. And, it's one of these things that you kind of got to dial in. And it's a true sheep hunt. I can see why it's so difficult, because you look over 10 square miles, you might not see a sheep. And then you look over another 10 square miles, you might not see a sheep. And then finally, you keep doing that at the right times, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's a band of sheep. So didn't turn up anything first day of scouting. First day of hunting, Dan spotted a group of rams. I helped them look for them, trying to get them a stalk, and then they kind of just disappeared in a fold from us and couldn't find them. And so I just kind of took off, like doing what I do best. Like I can always walk myself into animals. And so I just took this ridge line with no roads on it, and it was a long ways. Like out there, all that country's loose, all of it's rough. It takes twice the exertion to cover a mile than it does like in Montana or Wyoming, just because, it's kind of like hunting Arizona, or everything's loose and rough, a bunch of rocks. You're always walking around cactus and stuff like that nature. But so I just went for like a big 6-mile send where there was no roads, and sure enough turned up a band of sheep, the first one I had seen, and it was a band of rams. And I'm like, gosh, there's one pretty good one in there, and there's 6 other ones, like the group of 7, or maybe there's a group of, yeah, I think there's a group of, maybe there's a group of 8. But I saw them down there, and it was a big send off the mountain, and it's day 1. I was like, well, it's kind of what I came here for. Like, I'm going to go down and get a little bit closer and just see what I can do. That looks like a shooter ram, but I was really on the fence with that thing. I knew it wasn't a giant, but it was like a good representation of a ram. So I dove off the mountain, more so, I think, for like the exercise and to go get close. And then I got to like a couple 100 yards, and I glassed down there and I could see the rams, and I'm like, I don't know. They're not in the best spot, but it's like, oh, that's what I'm here for. Like, let's see how they are to get close to. So I don't know if I would have shot that ram or not, but I worked into bow range of all those rams, and I could have shot 5 of the 7 or 6 of the 8. The only 2 I couldn't see was that shooter and another decent ram that was in there. Now, I'm not sure if I would have shot him or not. Like, I just wasn't ready to end the fun, but it was nice getting in bow range. It was nice actually finding some sheep, and I hadn't seen that many. And then the next morning, Dan couldn't find his rams, so I took him in there where I had left those ones, because I pretty much just backed out at dark. They didn't know I was there. I was in bow range. We spotted them the next morning. There was a good ram in there. And I'm like, Dan, why don't you go for it? It was like easier to send him for it and like just keep playing the game, because I knew eventually I'd see a giant somewhere, one that would just light my heart on fire. And that's what ended up happening day 3, is I found one that was so big and such a big curl. It looked like a world record to me. Now he wasn't, he was just like a great ram, but he looked so big that there was like no question about it, so anyways.
Nice. Yeah, that's part of it, just kind of feeling it out, right? And it's harder when you're hunting one animal, like you have one animal. And I know that's like obviously the norm for hunting in the States, especially out west. But like, for example, if I go axis deer hunting, like I'll get one under my belt. I don't care what it is. It's a buck, a small buck or a doe or whatever. Get one under my belt, get some camp meat, feeling good, good arrow flight, bow's feeling good. And it's amazing what that can do for your psyche when like you have one under your belt and then you're like, okay, now I can, trophy hunt now and hold out for a bigger one. But on the scenarios when, you have one animal and you have to be selective and it's a new species like this, yeah, it's very difficult. And like elk are easy, right? Because we know we've hunted them so much and we kind of know what these units have to offer for score wise for the most part, or age class, not necessarily score, but age class. And so you kind of have an idea of what you should be holding out for if it's a good year. But like the horned animals, it's just a little bit more difficult, like the mountain goats, the mouflon, the Aoudad, maybe antelope. Like it's easy to make a mistake, right? It's easy to be like, dadgummit, you walk up to it and you're like, smaller than what I was hoping it would be, or whatever the case might be. And so you're trying to be careful. And so that's why, as we talked on previous podcasts too about it, it's important to know what you're looking at. Like do your homework and watch YouTube videos and look at grip and grins or whatever and be like, okay, that's the class of sheep that I know is like a giant or a big one. And like, okay, then inch wise, like a 32-inch horn is a mega giant for an Aoudad. And, anything in the upper 20s is a great ram. And so, and then putting that to a visual reference as well. Like, I don't know about you, but that really helps me on some of these hunts where the horned game might be a little bit smaller and I'm not as familiar, not as seasoned when it comes to hunting them. But just doing that homework really helps me out, I feel like.
Yeah, it's like such a good point, right? And that's exactly what I tried to do, is tried to get a feel for it. And we like to bow hunt and we like to arrow critters. And so sometimes setting that benchmark is tough. And like you said, get one under your belt, right? If you're hunting axis or if you're hunting mouflon or any species for that matter. And that was Dan's approach to the hunt, is he's like, man, I just want to kill an Aoudad ram, a decent one, get one under my belt. And then if I ever get to hunt them again, I'll know what to shoot for. But yeah, that get one under your belt. What also helps me too is I have multiple elk tags or multiple deer tags a year, or like killing that first antelope. That kind of like, get home, get them butchered. I killed an animal, I got one under my belt. That like helps me with the trophy process that I can shoot for a bigger one next time. And that's what happened, this year for mule deer, for elk the year before when I killed that giant. It's like, I killed a good 320 bull, and then it's like, okay, now I can look for a giant bull on this next tag. I don't need to kill one. I've killed a bull. Like it kind of like quenches my thirst a little bit. And same thing this year is like I killed a great late season buck that was an older buck, and perfect play, perfect shot. It was like a great experience. But now I have one, and I have another late season tag. Now on this next late season tag, like I can really shoot for the moon and try to kill, like an upper end buck or a real trophy size buck. And so I think that helps me as well. And then it's just as the years go on, man, it's just like you get more confidence in your skills, more confidence in your hunting, and you can kind of set your benchmarks a little bit higher. And I'm like, I'm okay if I don't fill a tag. Like my goal is to kill one good mule deer a year, one good bull a year. Like I just don't have to fill out on every tag. And that seems to help me too. It's just like confidence in my skills, confidence in my ability to close deals. But I think for me at least, it's just taken years of being consistent in harvesting those animals to where now I can look at a decent 4-point muley like even a good one that years ago I would have made a stalk and tried to kill, and just look at them and go, let's let them grow another year. I'm gonna look for the next age class. I'm gonna look for a little bit bigger one, and same thing on bulls. And that's kind of like how I've been able to kill bigger animals, is just by getting that experience, that confidence, and then setting my standards a little bit higher. And I know like I'm dangerous with a tag in my pocket and time in my hands. Like eventually I'm gonna run into a pretty good animal. It just seems to happen.
Yeah, those are very, very good points. The species that you're hunting more often, I feel like you're gonna, obviously, just because it's a numbers game, you're gonna tend to have maybe some better animals in those species. But on some of the horn game, like a mountain goat or an Aoudad, you might only draw that sucker like once every 10 or 20 years. And so the pressure's on a little bit. You're not going to have as many opportunities. You want to kill a nice one, or maybe like you said with Dan, he just wanted to get a decent ram under his belt and then hunt him again sometime in the future, which is also, I think there's a lot to be said for that. To just, think how much you grow as a bow hunter. I'm thinking back at some of these species that I've hunted the first time, and maybe they weren't like the biggest representations of the species, but a big part of it is experiencing a new species up close, the skinning, the meat, the trophy, how they're built. Like that's a very fun part of it for me too, of just handling a new species. So yeah, just because you don't find a Boone and Crockett or a giant, and maybe all that there is to offer in the unit is just a ram. It might not even be like a necessarily a mature ram, but still, if you factor in how often are you going to hunt these species, and then decide on, and for me, I would tend to just shoot an animal if age class wasn't there, once again, just to really soak in and experience the species up close, from, like I said, the horns to the skinning, the meat, just how they're built, because I'm a nature lover, right? I love wildlife. I love animals, and they're all so different. They smell different. Like it's just fascinating to me. And so, yeah, you got to factor that in too, I feel like. And on these hunts, of course, mule deer tags, elk tags are more fairly readily available. So you're going to be hunting them more. And as you said too, your walk as your journey as a trophy hunter or just a bow hunter, for deer and elk, you're going to have more time with them. You're going to have more time to hunt them. You're going to have probably more species or more trophies under your belt. And so you're going to be naturally a little bit more selective. So it's amazing, just the mental game there, like what we're talking about. So the mental game of like what to shoot and what I'm feeling like. And, I know you've probably found yourself in this situation too, but you find yourself in a decision-making process where you have very limited time, and you're like, I need to shoot this thing now or not. And then most often, because we're killers, you like talk yourself into shooting it. And sometimes you have ground shrinkage. Most of the time you have ground shrinkage, and sometimes you have ground growage, which is pretty rare. But I find I gotta be careful of that, especially like with antelope, right? Like if I have like maybe a certain goal that I have in mind, but like if I have this snap quick opportunity and this buck's working through a cut, and it's like kind of a now or never, like I have to really like pay attention. Otherwise that thing's probably going to die and I might regret
it. It's so true, man. I'm a bow hunter through and through, and I love making plays. I can't just sit the whole season and just watch everything. Like I like to try to go get close. I like to try to go arrow it. That's like a lot of the fun for me. And the truth of the matter is too, is if you're too passive or you're looking for too big of an animal, it seems like when I get into an area, the hunting usually doesn't get better. Now, for these sheep, it's like, like at the start, we were not finding many sheep. They were really tough to locate. We were spending hours behind the glass, but we started to dial it in, and then we found like epic hunting. We started to find where the rams were hanging, the country they liked. They didn't like the super steep, even though that's where I killed mine. and they didn't like the flats, but they liked kind of where that country started to soften right at that breaking point. And so then we could look for more terrain that looked like that. We could look for roadless country that nobody was grabbing vantage points on, where these sheep might get pressured during some of the earlier seasons where they might be living. And so we were able to dial it in and actually found more sheep. Now, we killed a couple of great rams, but if I would have killed that ram the first day, I would have had a little buyer's remorse. I would have killed a great ram, got the experience, like you say, but we started dialing it in and finding better hunting. But I find a lot of mule deer and elk hunting, I find a good spot, and it's like as good as you get when you first get there. And even if you're not pressuring the animals, even if you're like not chasing a bunch or spooking a bunch, it seems like the hunting just always gets just like a little tougher, a little tougher, a little tougher. And pretty soon you're 5 or 7 days into it and there's no more animals left in that drainage and you got to go start over, So it's like, it is a tough decision. And I think it's really personal, like with your goals and what you're shooting. And then there's a lot of real time decision making, like you're talking about, Dan. And I had my sights set on an 80-inch antelope this year. I'd killed a 78 the year before. I've never killed an 80. And I started chasing a couple 80s and it didn't come together. And I started to get like a little bit more aggressive. And then pretty soon a buck walked out, which I actually thought he was a little bit bigger than he was, but ended up being a 73. Now I'm stoked with him, made a great stalk, made a great shot, but it was like, okay, I had one jump my string. I had this stalk fall apart and I'm chasing these big goats that I want. But then pretty soon as the days start to go on, I'm like a little bit more aggressive. And through the spotting scope on that one, I'm like, oh, he'll work. And I thought, he was upper 70s, like a great buck, and ended up being 73, like still a great antelope. Like I'm stoked with him and glad I shot him. But yeah, I tend to get a little bit more aggressive. And so there's your goals you set before season with your expectations, and then there's real time decisions that you're making. Now, I didn't settle for a 55-inch antelope or just an antelope. I wasn't going for any of those. It was still like a great buck, but it was probably like just under what I set my sights for. And those were kind of like the current conditions that was challenging, my me holding out or me going for them. And I like hunting them so much and wanted to get one killed. And so I started getting more and more aggressive, which can happen to me as well.
Yeah, I think you bring up such a common occurrence in hunting, and especially nowadays with, what people, it's easy. I'm holding out for a 330 bull. It's easy for like a hunter to say that. Right. And then you get out there, you're a couple days in, maybe the wife's been, like, hurry up and come home, and you have that pulling at you, and then maybe your job. And then all of a sudden you're like, you have 300-inch bull, or you're like, the 330 goes out the window. You're talking the talk, but when it comes to, the actual hunting and life is taking a toll and the days are stacking up, it's very easy to settle. Right. And which is just, that's just the way it goes. And some of the best hunters the best trophy hunters, these guys that are killing very big animals, they're going home without anything a fair amount too. If they're set on, they're not going to settle for something. They don't need to kill something. And maybe they're not in it, as, for the meat is their number one goal. And so, which is fine too. And, but yeah, it's funny how the human psyche works with that. And going back to like your antelope too, that's the biggest thing is you also have to be a realist, because if you're reading in the research manuals or, on TagHub or any other resource out there, and you're like, this unit offers 330 bulls, and you're like, okay, yeah, 330. But maybe you're there on a bad year. Maybe there's not a 330 bull in the unit. And I tell you what, in this day and age, I know in Wyoming, all these units that take 10 plus points, they ain't producing the quality that they used to, or what they're advertised as, that you'll see in all these publications. And so I think that gives guys false hope too, but you have to be a realist. And once you start hunting a few days, like you said, you're like, okay, I'm taking all this in, what am I seeing? And then that's such a great tip too, Brian, like what you said, the first day that you're in a spot is by far your best day to kill something. It's going to be the best hunting. I've had the most success. We've talked so much about this in the past. We might be grinding for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. And then you're like, dadgummit, I need to relocate and just switch up. I'm in a funk or whatever. And you go into someplace new and bam, first morning or first evening you're in there, you kill one. And so that's very important to consider too, because it's so easy to get into a spot, or you get into this basin and there's a bull bugling over here, there's a bull bugling over there, and you're like, oh yeah, this is gonna be good. I'm gonna save that bull for tomorrow. I'm gonna be here all week. On public land, nah, that's not the reality, right? And so you're factoring in that aggressive behavior that as a bow hunter, as a killer, that you're wired with, that you have to have. So you're factoring that in, you're being a realist on the situation. But also, if you do want longevity in some of these spots, and for example, like some of the axis deer areas that I'm hunting, it's a fairly controlled environment and there's no predators. And so I do hunt it maybe a little bit more gently the first day, and then I ease into it and I might give it a day or two off. So I have good hunting all week on this property, because I don't care if you're hunting axis deer, mule deer, elk, aoudad. Once you start walking through the bedding area, once you start walking through where they're traveling, maybe you sit down and take a break, you're leaving your scent, you're taking a pee, whatever, like you're just leaving. I mean, go look at animal behavior or an area where a mountain lion starts to, visit an area, the deer slowly disappear. They're moving away. They're changing their habits. They're changing locations. It's just natural dynamics of predator and prey. And so very valid points, whether you're hunting private or public land, to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's all great stuff, man. It yeah, your first point, like, to reality, it may not even be wife or pressure, or maybe it's just opportunities. Like that's what you're seeing in the unit. Like your second point you illustrated there. But it is taking tabs of what you're actually finding. Like you're never going to kill a 330, 350 bull if you're not seeing any, or you can't find one during the season. And so yeah, I think it's important to have goals and have ambitions, but and as much as I consider myself a trophy hunter, I kind of have a line that I won't go under, and that goes for deer and for elk. Now, I seem to find a lot right at that line, right under it, right over it, because that's where my goal is set. But, for me, like I know that I'm going to be stoked if I kill a big mature 6 point. He's heavy. He's got 45 to 50-inch main beams, a good, and I don't care if he ends up scoring 320, 325, 315. Like I know I'm stoked with that bull, right? And so I might have these big goals or these big ambitions, but then I might just catch a 315, 320 bull in a good spot with a bunch of cows. And it's like, well, I know I'll be stoked with that bull. And maybe sometimes you get on a hunt and you start seeing how difficult it is to actually kill those animals. Like I'm always humbled by mule deer. I'm always humbled by antelope, by elk, So I might find a big bull and I'm chasing him and it doesn't come together and I blow the herd and and all of a sudden I've been hunting for 7, 8, 9 days. And I'm like, man, this is really tough. And the other thing I have to factor in too is all I eat is wild game. Like I can't go a season and not kill an elk, a mule deer, an antelope, like I eat that meat all year long. And then that fuels my future pursuits. And the meat means a lot to me. And so like I'm not going to go a season and not kill anything. Like as much of a trophy hunter as I am, it's like eventually, if I get late in the season or late in the days, my goal of killing a 330 plus bull or a 350 plus bull, it might not come to fruition. And I might see a good 315, 320, and I might make it happen. And I will be absolutely stoked. I got an awesome experience that season. I killed a great 6-point bull. I am happy with my season. So it's not like I walk up to it and I'm disappointed in myself. It's like I'm still so stoked for the experience, so stoked for being able to hunt elk that long. I've improved my skill set. So that's not a failure to me. Like, but I do have my line. Like I'm also, for me, it's like I'm not going to shoot a raghorn, or I'm not going to shoot a small 5-point or small 6. I've killed enough of those, and I know if I keep hunting, like I'll get a chance at a good bull that I'm really happy with. And so I do have my line, and same thing with mule deer. It's like I'm not going to go shoot a 130-inch buck just to fill my tag. Like I'm going to continue to look for an older age class deer because I know it'll happen. I know it'll come together, but I may not be shooting for a 190-inch deer on that hunt. I might my goals and ambitions may change just due to the conditions I'm seeing, how difficult they are, what I'm turning up. So I think it's like a moving target. And I think you just have to figure out like what you're going to be happy with. And also like enjoying the journey, enjoying the experience. Like I love to hunt elk, like you love to hunt elk. I love to hunt mule deer. And so when I go on a hunt, like, and I have a whole season and I got to play at a buck, maybe he wasn't a 200 incher, but he's one that I'm really stoked with. It's 165, 170. Like, yeah, man, that's a great hunt. And if I kill that buck, I am beyond excited and stoked of my season. My season was not a failure because I didn't kill a 200 incher. But I think we're all just wired different where we're trying to all kind of figure that out.
Yeah, no, that's very good stuff. Because when I think about the mindset when I go into a hunt, and I obviously a mature animal, right, is what we're all striving to harvest. And sometimes it's a 370 bull, and sometimes it's a 320 bull. And like up in Montana this year on Jack's place, I killed like a 300-inch bull. Probably not even that. He's probably like 290s, but he was 7.5 years old. That's what we think. And I'm going to get that verified. I sent him into the lab. But that the example I'm making, just kind of furthering your point, is you factor in the scenario and what historically an area is producing for quality. And like for me, if I'm going into the backcountry, like I'm hunting for a 370 plus bull. I mean, that's my goal, right? Now, am I going to pass on a 350? No, of course not. On, day 5, am I going to pass on a 320 bull? No, I'm not going to pass on a 320 bull. And I'm going to be happy with a 320 all the way up, obviously, to a 370, 380 bull. I'm going to be happy with anything in between, because you're understanding the process. You're understanding this journey. You're understanding, you're 5, 6, 7 days into it, and you're factoring in all these variables. And then, yeah, we want to be successful. Ultimately, we want to have that elk meat for the winter. Ultimately, we want to kill a mature animal. And like I said, sometimes it's a 300-inch bull and sometimes it's a 380 bull. And so it's still the journey, right? And then there's hunts like hunting over in Idaho with my buddy Jared over there. It's not known for a trophy area. It's not known for an age class either. It's known as an elk factory. There's a fair amount of action. And if you can find a 6-point bull, you're doing good. That's a good job. And so, and you go into the hunt with that sort of expectation. I'm looking for a solid 6-point bull, and that's it. That's all you can. Let's be real here. And so I think being well grounded is very important too when we go on these hunts. And once again, going back to knowing the species, knowing the hunt, knowing the age class. One thing I appreciate in like Utah, for example, if you look at some of the statistics in some of the areas, like they're managing this area for 7.5 to 8.5-year-old bulls, or a 5.5 to a 6.5-year-old bull. And they have like their different levels of management, what they're, striving for. And obviously, if you're managing for a little bit older bulls, you're going to have a little bit less tags. You might have a little bit less rifle tags. And so I appreciate that in the regards of that's kind of what I'm looking for too, because if an area is being managed for even 5 to 6-year-old bulls, you're like, okay, that's on the brink of maturity. That's probably going to be the average-ish age class bull that I'm going to see. But guess what? There's still probably a percentage of bulls in that unit that are 7+. And once they're in that 7, 8 years old, most of the time in mountain habitats, that's probably maximum potential for quality on a good year. Now, don't get me wrong. I know guys that have killed 380 bulls in eastern Montana, and is 18 years old. But eastern Montana is very easy living for an elk. Usually not much snow, plenty of feed everywhere. Water's not usually an issue where the elk are, that they can be. And so it's easy living. It's like more gumbo country, so that soil is less abrasive on their teeth, so their teeth don't wear out as fast as more of the Rocky Mountain region of the Continental Divide, where you have more volcanic activity. That soil, their teeth wear out faster. Their teeth are worn out by the time they're 9 years old. And so you have all these factors of realities of, what only are they being managed for, but the habitat, when are they reaching their maximum potential? And so once again, I love the age class thing, because that really gives you a perspective of, okay, if we're managing for 7 to 8 year old bulls, we're managing for maximum trophy potential. And that's probably a unit that is worthy of burning all my points on after, a 20-year investment.
Yeah. Yeah. You nailed it. Like, it's such a great conversation back and forth, Dan. Yeah, I think the area that you're hunting and your expectations, there's places I go where I am shooting for, 190 inch, 180 inch deer, nothing, or shooting for that 330 or even 350 inch bull. Like, that's why I've waited all those years to draw that tag, and I'm not settling for anything but that animal, no matter what I see in there. And then there's other places where it's like, I know how big they get. I know how old they get. Like, if I can find a good 160 inch deer, if I can find a good 320 inch bull, like, man, I'm going to send it and be happy. So I think your expectations have to match your opportunity. And then, like, you've illustrated this point, and you also said, like, your expectations have to match your opportunity. And also you have to factor in, like, how much time do you have to hunt that? If you're really a trophy hunter and you're trying to kill the biggest bull or the biggest buck in the unit, you better have the entire season. You better have 2 weeks. You better be able to come back for another few days. You better have it all. Like, you can't expect to kill the world in a 4 or 5 day hunt, And so you have to factor in your time too, because you can set yourself up for a 350 bull in a great unit that you drew, but you only have 5 to 7 days to hunt it, even though the season is 2 weeks. Like, you may not kill a bull in there, and so I think you have to, like, match it with that. And also, like we talked about, like, your skills as well. Like, how many bulls have you killed? It's like, have you ever killed a 350 bull? Have you ever killed a branch antler bull? Well, if that's the case, like, you need to lower your expectations, or maybe you don't. Like, it's a personal choice for everybody, but I think you really need to work your way up the trophy rungs of the ladder. I think before you can kill a 200 inch deer, you got to kill a 180 inch deer. You got to kill a handful of 160s, or you got to, like, get that experience under your belt, so you keep your cool in the moment, so you know what they look like. And I think that's how you work your way up to killing those trophies. Now, maybe it is your first year and you do run into a 200 incher and you get them killed. That's great. That does happen too. Like, you're going to take opportunities at big deer. It's not like you're only looking for 160 inch deer, but I do think you need that experience. You need to stalk them. You need to get comfortable behind your bow, executing good shots, because if the first animal you ever draw back on is a Boone and Crockett bull, like, I got news for you. You're probably not going to put that arrow right where it needs to be. Like, it takes a bit of experience in killing bulls to be able to harvest those big next level ones. So I think you have to be realistic with your skills going into the hunt as well.
Yeah. The skill set and the time, right? I mean, that's something that I kind of skipped over, but, like, time is everything when it comes to a trophy hunt. If you're being picky, you have to have time. It's one of the biggest things that, I talk to guys here at Eastmans about applying for tags, and I'm burning 18 points. And, they say, well, I'm not going to have that much time to hunt. And it's like, dude, you've invested 20 years of points to draw this tag and go hunting, and you can only hunt 4 days. Like, that's just crazy to me. That's just mind-boggling to me. And maybe because I take hunting so seriously, but these opportunities are like once in a lifetime, right? So hopefully if I've drawn this tag, it has a decent season, as far as time goes. And, like, a lot of these hunts in a lot of states are, like, only like a week. I don't know, like muzzleloader hunts, Colorado, New Mexico, they're like 5 days, right? And that makes me a little bit nervous because, on a hunt like that, if they're very hard to draw or taking a lot of points, and I only have 5 days to kill, like, I feel like I need to be down there 5 days before the season and do my hunting before the actual trigger pulling time starts, and have kind of an idea. But then if you're getting too aggressive on that, you're going to blow stuff out and then just kind of shoot yourself in the foot. So it's very important, is managing that time. And it's like, yeah, if I have 14 days to hunt, I'm probably going to have a chance at a giant if I'm in a unit that has the age class. But I don't have 14 days on every single hunt, usually either. But you still need to set aside a reasonable amount of time to give yourself the chance at making the most of the tag. And that can go for any hunt, really, whether you're just hunting for a bull or you're hunting, a trophy unit that you've waited 20 years for. And 5 days of hunting is a good amount of time. It's not a long time, but it's a good amount of time. And most of growing up guiding, not growing up, I was in my 20s and 30s, but when I was guiding, like 5-day hunts, that's what outfitters are selling. And that, man, it goes by pretty quick. And if you have a couple slow days in there and you're like, oh crud, like tomorrow's the last day. And so it can go pretty quick, and hopefully the hunting's good enough. Most of the time 5 days is enough, but 7 days for like a DIY hunt, 7 days, 10 days is probably what you need to set aside for some of these trophy units or these coveted areas that you've waited all this time to hunt. Like 10 days is what I would consider that you need to plan for. What do you think on that? I mean, and you're factoring in all the years of hunting and experience and hunting general tags and hunting coveted areas, but yeah, just don't skimp on time, right?
Mm-mm. No, you nailed it. Yeah, I'm pretty effective in the first 5 days. Like a lot of times in a good unit, I can get it done. And like that antelope hunt, I had set aside 5 days, and I was on day 4 when I arrowed that buck. So I started to get more aggressive as the days went on, and I didn't have a lot of time to hunt them. I was booked pretty heavy throughout the season, and sure, I could have made it back a weekend, or I could have made some more time, but I started getting more aggressive. But yeah, it's tough. I think guys would be really surprised. It's like, I harvested some great animals this year, but I had a struggle of a season. So it's like, elk. I mean, I don't, when I killed my first bull, man, I think I was 14, 15 days into it, like a couple different trips. And I ended up hunting elk for 20 some days this year. Now, when I killed my first mule deer, I had hunted that early Colorado unit and I didn't get a stock. I didn't get my first stock on a mule deer till 10 days in. And I think I was 17, 18 days before I harvested a late season mule deer, the great buck that I killed late. It was like, yeah, I went and did 5 or 6 days in that country. I didn't kill a deer and I had to come back for another weekend hunt, and so I hunted a lot of days this year. It was like a struggle for me to get it done, and I got chances and opportunities. It was an epic season, but yeah, it doesn't come easy. Like, you definitely want to plan for a lot of days, and especially if you draw a premium tag, and give yourself a backup plan too. I know so many times I'll be hunting and I'll give myself, my first elk rip was 10, 12 days, something like that. And then, I take a break for a day and I come back and then, able to kill a bull on the next rip out, so like plan to give yourself those days, but maybe a rest day or plan to a weekend after it. And I'm fortunate, a lot of the tags I had were long seasons this year, but yeah, man, time's the equalizer for me. I just know eventually I will get it done, but I have to grind, and I had to grind this season. But then you take the year before and I hunted elk a total of 3 days and killed a 320 and a 360, it's like it just came together on great bulls. So sometimes it comes together early in the hunt as well, but yeah, days are an equalizer, man. It's like figure enough time, and especially if you have a premium tag. And I know, not all of us have that luxury at a time, or all of us are on a schedule of sorts, but man, build yourself a backup plan. Or if you really draw one of these premium tags, make the most of the experience. And that's in scouting, in hunting days, a backup trip after your hunting days. Like, just make the most of it, because they are getting tougher and tougher to come by. That you want the most out of that experience. And at the end of that hunt, you want to know that you gave it your all, gave it everything you had, as many days as you had. And that's whether you're successful or unsuccessful in filling the tag. But yeah, days are definitely an equalizer for me.
Yeah. And that's, like you're saying, double-digit days into a hunt. Most guys are probably going to go home, before they're going to get 12 days into a hunt. And that's the difference between being successful and going home empty. I mean, plain and simple, we talk about it. Persistence is deadly. Persistence pays off. And that's all it is. And it's a mental game. And I don't care if you have to, maybe you got to go back into town after day 6 or 7 and stay in a hotel, get a shower, eat a burger, whatever, that might be the deciding factor, which gives you that, that next, 5 to 6, 7 day push to become successful when you're 12, 13, 14 days into the hunt. And so you're not going to regret it. I mean, yeah, you might get fired from your job. So what? Your kids might not be able to eat. So what? No, I mean, that's why you're out there. You're providing food for the family, right? But no, I mean, I feel like if you're working for a good company, and I do talk to guys about this a fair amount too. If you're working for a good company, you're a passionate person, and if you want and you have this desire to spend 14 days, say you save up your vacation or whatever, and it's a once in a lifetime deal, and you're gone for 14 days. I think if you're a good employee and your boss appreciates your passion for life, right? And if you're going to spend 14 days hunting, you probably have a bit of passion, and that's going to carry over into everyday life. And I feel like if you find yourself in that scenario and your boss is like, nope, you're not going, or you're going to get fired, you're not going to have a job when you come back, then I'd be like, see ya. And that's just me, right? I mean, I get it. I'm maybe more of a risk taker, I would say, but we got to feed our families. We got to pay the bills. I get that. But if there's a will, there's a way. Talk to your boss ahead of time and be like, I'll work, overtime or extra hours or whatever it takes so I can be gone, 2 weeks in September to go hunt this elk tag. And I think if you're forthcoming with it, any reasonable boss is going to work with you. And I think with family too, if you married a good woman, she's probably going to work with you if you put forth the work ahead of time. And so I guess the point I'm getting at is if there's a will, there's a way. And things like if you say that, well, that's impossible, or I can't do that, or I can't afford that, or whatever, it's like, oh, I guarantee you can. Are you going to make the sacrifices to do it? Maybe you won't. But I guarantee you can do anything that you can conjure up in that little brain of yours if you set your mind to it, right? You can make anything happen in the United States by living here if you just say, yeah, I can do that. And you can find a way. You got to be resourceful. You can find a way to make it happen. That's kind of a tangent, but that's how I feel. And that's how I feel bow hunters that are consistently successful. They're hardcore. It's our passion, whatever. That's the mindset you have to have. And that's going to separate you from the rest. And it's going to separate you from being successful and staying away from failure, right? With that mindset.
That's so true, man. I love the tangent. Yeah, I think it's great. It's my passion in life, like it's yours. And I've structured my life to be able to get a lot of time. And am I fortunate? Yeah. Have I made my own fortune? Yeah. Like, if it was money that was really important to me, or putting zeros in my bank account that put a smile on my face, we need to provide for our families. We need to make money, but that's not what I'm chasing in life. I'm chasing experiences. I'm chasing more time afield with my bow behind, my bow in front of me, chasing critters. Like, that's what I love to do. And so, yeah, I've spent the last 20, 25 years structuring my life to be able to get this time away. And so, yeah, maybe it doesn't happen next season, but like Dan said, where there's a will, there's a way. Talking to your boss, putting in overtime, working weekends, doing vacation trips with your family. And there's seasons of your life too. I get it. Maybe you got young kids and you can't be gone that long, but you're setting yourself up for the next season or the next couple seasons. Or maybe like my buddy Dylan, he's got 2 young boys, another one on the way. I think he's got a girl on the way. And, it's like, they're really good kids, but it's a lot, right? And so he flies in his mother-in-law. He flies in his sister-in-law to spend time with his wife while he's gone on these hunts. Like, he just finds a way to be able to get his time afield, and he harvested great animals this season. Like, he's got a young family. There's seasons to our life. And the season in my life is like, I've set myself up the last 25 years to be able to get a bunch of time in the field. My kids are old and grown. Like, my youngest daughter is graduating high school this year. And sure, there's stuff that I need to do, and I need to make sure I'm there for my wife. But, I find myself that I get a bunch of time. That's the season of my life. My finances are all taken care of. I run my own business. I got guys looking after me. Like, I've structured it to where now I'm living my absolute best life. And am I fortunate? Yeah. Did I create that? Yeah, I did. So where there's a will, there's a way. You have those conversations with your wife, with your family, know what dates are important to them, let them know what dates are important to you, what hunts. And, maybe you can't do 6 or 8 hunts like I do a year, but you can do a couple and pour your everything into them. You can take 2 weeks for those hunts. You can figure out your work. Like, where there's a will, there's a way. And if it's important to you, you can't use these hurdles or these challenges in front of you. You have to figure out how to get over it. It's like, if you really want a trophy bull, like, you have to come to the facts that, like, you're not going to get it done being a weekend warrior. You're going to have to take a week off work. You're going to have to be gone from the house for a week, maybe 2 weeks. Like, you have to realize that this is a major key and component to your success is being in the field. So yeah, you got to start to structure your life that way, and and set yourself up. And like you say, a passionate person, like, I'm worth it at work. Nobody's going to fire me because I'm, I get a bunch done and I'm like great on the job site. And, it's like I do my job there. And so I'm appreciated. So guys cover for me, and I'm a little bit different owning my own business. Like, I can't really get fired, but in the same breath, like, I make sure like all my responsibilities at Eastmans is taken care of. Like, you should see me recording podcasts before season, producing podcasts 3 or 4 weeks in advance, making arrangements, writing my articles early, waking up early, staying up late to make sure all my responsibilities are taken care of. And you can speak to anybody at Eastman's. Like, I'm never late turning anything in. I never miss a week. Like, I make sure that's taken care of the same way I do at my job, the same way I do with my family, so I can be out in the field chasing my dreams.
Yeah, there you go. If you know you need to make something happen, you figure out a way to do it. And that one thing I wanted to touch on too was, it seems like, too, whatever you want to call it, luck, Murphy's Law, God, whatever you want to call it, it seems like you're, for me anyway, I'm planning for the worst. So I'll be like, I need to plan 10 days for this hunt. It's Montana tag I drew a couple of years ago. I think I was like, yeah, I want to hunt 14 days. I want to set aside 14 days. And so when you're planning and you're putting forth this effort to, like, put it all together and make it happen at home and work and whatever. And more often than not, in my experience, I've been successful and I've gotten done way earlier than what I've planned for. And then you come home this hero, right, to your family, and you're home early and yeah, we got it done. But I feel like that maybe it's just the effort, because you're taking it seriously, and the more effort you put into things, the more you're going to get out of things. And maybe that's just what it is. It's not luck. It's not, anything else. It's not those other things, but it's just in life, the more you put into something, the more you're going to get out of it. And if you're planning for 14 days and you're putting in your time with the family and making sure everybody's good. And like you said, I love that Dylan, he's flying in his mother. I love that. That's freaking epic. That's awesome. And you're doing all these things to make it work. And so everybody's good. And then, yeah, things sometimes fall in your lap, and other times you're hunting till the end. But that's just the walk of being a bow hunter, right? Life of a bow hunter, baby. That's what it is. But I tell you what, when you come home early, you kill a big old bull, Dean comes running out. He's got this big old grin on his face, and he's handling your bull, and he's like, "Oh, wow, Dad. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Oh, yeah, that's a big one." And you're like, there's no better feeling in the world.
Mm-mm. No, I love being a hero. It's like I love accomplishing my goals. It's just no better feeling on planet Earth. No, you're right, man. And it's right now, life of a bow hunter, like we talk about, man, it's 12 months a year. And so right now it's setting those goals. It's working hard towards them right now. I know I'm back behind the bow a ton, trying to run those arrows down range, training, taking that to another level, like really working on my endurance training, making sure my weight's all dialed, nutrition, and then diving into a ton of research on tags and trying to plan out my season and where I'm applying. And it's year-round pursuit. And it takes right now is like not falling off, not dropping off, not and where you stop thinking about hunting, or maybe that works for some guys. But for me, it's like I'm working hard towards my goals for 2026. I'm making plans and working hard to make sure my skills are as high as I can get them. And right now is like the separation you make from other guys is putting in the work right now to make sure that you're ready for next September. And so I just love the life I live. I live such a passionate life, and it just drives me to be a better person. And I know I haven't hit my own ceiling yet. And so I'm just trying to get the most out of my body and out of my life. And so right now is really exciting for me. My season may be over, but I'm fired up about bow hunting and working hard. And man, it feels pretty good to get back into training, back into normal life, and then back into the research and playing with the possibilities of what a guy can do this year.
Yeah, no, that's the fun of it, right? Is especially if you're relatively new into it, maybe you don't have your bow, your kit like perfected yet. Maybe some things you didn't like about your sight or your rest or something. Like now's the time to really start thinking about that and working with it. And I know like the first decade that I was into archery, like I was always tuning, I was putting a twist here, putting a twist there. Oh, my cams are out of time now and I got to go back. Like I did a ton of tinkering when I was a kid. And that was before YouTube was a thing. But now, like if you don't have a ton of experience in this stuff, now's the time to be messing with it. And I'm writing a article right now for Eastman's Bowhunting Journal, kind of talking about that specifically and just how far bows have come and how much technology is wrapped up in these new bows to really make it so you can attain perfection with an arrow tune in your backyard. Like you don't need a bow press anymore. You don't need to shim your cams. You have these limb shift technology on a Matthews bow. You have a lot of different bows have all these technologies, but you have that limb shift technology, the tuning, the timing marks on your cams. It's pretty easy. I mean, yeah, you can put your bow on a draw board, but they make it so easy for the user to really be dialed with your equipment. And so it's like geek out time this time of year, like you said, with the tags and the research and looking at new gear, looking for deals. Never pay full price for stuff if you can help it, guys. Don't do it. Look for some secondhand stuff. I do that too. Some stuff you got to buy new. That's the way it goes. But now is the time of year to do that stuff and to tinker and plan. And it's one of my favorite times of year. Maybe you're messing with a new arrow setup. I love that. I love going out and messing with new arrows and shooting bear shafts and just seeing what they're doing. How are they coming out of this bow? Like, how forgiving is this bow that I'm shooting? Do I have to mess with my cam adjustment very much to get 2 or 3 different 300 spine arrows to shoot? Which one is flying the best? What am I grouping? I mean, it never stops, right? And right now is when we should be doing that stuff.
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, spot on for sure. Yeah, it's a fun time of year. Yeah, hopefully we can draw some tags and get some hunts in. Saw 3 rams on my run yesterday. That was pretty cool.
I
3
saw that,
rams in
yeah.
a spot that I don't normally see them at, so that was pretty fun. But yeah, man, it's all good. Just keep working hard towards our goals. But yeah, great podcast today, Dan. I really enjoyed that. Man, it's like that's what goes into being a complete bow hunter is like these little things. It isn't just the stock, it isn't just the shot. It's all these little things that like getting your life together too, like that make a huge difference in being successful and setting your goals and adjusting. So yeah, just a great podcast, man. I really enjoyed it. Just thank a couple sponsors for today's show. So Matthews Bows, like you mentioned it, man, it's the time of year. Go check them out. They're building such forgiving bows that hold a tune. And, this is, I know, me and Dan are so stoked with this new bow, the limb shift technology, the performance I'm getting out of it. And I shot that Aoudad with the new bow. It's the first critter for me. I know Dan killed some elk with his this year. But yeah, just an absolute great shooter. And a little tip for you guys too is like, dude, the last 3 years of these Matthews bows are unreal. Really, the last 5 years, the last 7 years. I like to keep like within the last 5 years of the last 3, but that tip that Dan just gave of like you looking for used deals, man, those lift X were great bows as well. And we are pushing and shooting the new one. It is a great bow. You won't be disappointed. But if you have any question about Matthews, the brand you're shooting, just go shoot them. Go to the range and go shoot them, because they are really dead in the hand, aim like crazy, really forgiving, and then hold up to all the abuse that me and Dan can throw at them throughout a season. I fell on my bow so hard this year one time, and the thing was still spot on like it should be. But yeah, man, great bows.
Yeah, absolutely. I get questions all the time, and people send me messages that, "Hey Dan, is the arc, is it worth it? Is it worth for me to upgrade to an arc?" And I'm like, "Well, what's your budget?" And they're like, "Oh, well, it's a little tight this year. Time's a little tough." And it's like, "Okay, well, how old a bow do you have?" And they might say, I have a lift, or maybe some of them say I have a triax, or I have a halon. And it's like, okay, I would upgrade from those. I probably this year, I wouldn't be hell bent on upgrading from a lift X. But dude, if you have a bow that's over 2 years old, I would upgrade to the arc. Not only are you getting a little bit more performance than the lift X, but the tunability of the limb shift technology is worth it. That's worth the upgrade. So you might not be able to afford a brand new arc. Get yourself the lift X and you'll thank me, because just shootability, tunability is elevated so much from 5 years ago. So yeah, can't stress that enough. Get yourself a new Matthews if you're got a little bit older of a bow.
Yeah, 100%. Nail it, man. Also want to thank Cutter Stabilizer, our buddy Earl Stroll. Just great stabilizers, really help with the hold, the reaction of the bow. They have all different sizes for your personal preference, and then you can adjust the weight by an ounce on the front, the back. They have sidebar mounts. I came out with quivers this year, which look like dynamite quivers. I haven't got a chance to test them yet, but yeah, just great products, great small company, man. I love that Cutter Stabilizer. So check it out if you're in the market for a new stabilizer system, if you want that bow to hold just a little bit steadier.
Yeah, just quality components, small company, carbon doesn't catch the wind. It's nice, streamlined carbon bars there. I know you run the kicker too off the side. So they kind of make it all for all your stabilizing needs. You can find it at Cutter for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Try it out. Try out different weight, try out different size stabilizers, see what fits you. And Dan and I have different personal preferences, and they make stabilizers for both of us so we can get a great hold, great reaction out of our bow. So yeah, if you're thinking you want that bow to hold a little steadier, try a different length stabilizer, try a little bit different weight, try a sidebar. Like, there's a bunch of things out there to make that bow hold a little bit better. Or maybe you want it more lightweight, you want it more streamlined. You don't want it catching the grass or catching the limbs, and in that case, you can go with a shorter stabilizer, and the shorter the stabilizer, you'd stack more weight on it to get the same hold as a longer stabilizer with less weight. So, they have everything for your personal preference there.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool. Well, right on, man. Yeah, let's wrap this up. We'll throw an intro on it and get this out to guys. It's a great podcast. Thanks again, Dan.
Sounds good. Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure.